The strv M/31 started design sometime in the early 1930s by A.B. Landverk as a continuation/refinement and effort by Sweden to bring most of their tank design and production into domestic manufacturing spheres, as opposed to that of older designs that consisted partially of licensed designs and homegrown designs that were heavily inspired by foreign designs. One of these biggest foreign inspirations being Krupp in Germany, although not operating in Germany right now due to the Versailles Treaty. This tank was largely a continuation of the design inspired by Krupp vehicles. The strv-31's origins can actually be roughly traced back to the German interwar secret designs that were made in front companies and in collaborations with nations that did not respect the Versailles treaties that went on from the 1920s all the way up to 1939, right before the war started, in which A.B. Landverk was one of these companies. Therefore, when the Swedish government got their hands on the design and consolidated A.B. Landverk, they kept working on the strv-31, which at this time was labeled the L10 by Landverk internally, and was still in design competition with another internal design, the L30, which is a very similar design, but with one thing unique about it. The L30 had a hybrid tracked wheel design. The wheels were positioned right next to the tracks with their own hydraulic system, which allowed the user to raise and lower it at will. The idea behind the system was that you could use the wheels on terrain that didn't require the tracks to reduce wear and tear on the tracks, therefore extending the lifespan of the tracks. It was ultimately decided that the benefits did not outweigh the cons when it came to the design of the hybrid wheel track system, and that the military would rather go with a more conventional design. So the L30, along with the hybrid system, was scrapped. They chose the L10. The L10, later known as the strv-31, proved to be a more modern and reliable design. Its main armament was the 37mm Bofors anti-tank gun, also known as the Can M/38 gun. This gun dated back to the early 1920s, starting design in 1921. The Bofors company, using again Krupp gun designs, mainly put together a anti-tank gun prototype that they wanted to actually be modular in their calibers, ranging from 37mm to 47mm to 75mm. But it would turn out they couldn't find much interest in the project, so they had to shelve it along with several 37mm prototype guns they had already made. This would prove advantageous for Bofors in the coming years, as in 1931, the Royal Swedish Arms Commission put out a request for several companies for an anti-tank gun of 37mm in size that could send a projectile weighing 700 grams downrange at 800 meters per second. As they already had a gun meeting many of the criteria that the commissions put out, they pulled them out of storage, did some testing, and realized that it fell just short of the requirements, and they would need to increase the weight of the gun to 800 kilograms to meet those requirements. But this problem was remedied by Harold Jensen, Swedish Arms Chief of Ordnance, when his team came up with a muzzle brake that, once applied to the gun, brought it up to specifications. This new prototype was produced in 1932 with a weight of only 370 kilograms, and with that, the gun was handed over to the military for trials. They found the gun could pen up to 20 millimeters of rolled homogeneous armor from 1,000 meters and roughly a 30-degree angle. One feature they particularly liked was the ability for the gun to break down 11 separate pieces, making it transportable by anything from a pack mule to the gun's crew itself across just about any terrain. One modification that was made to it was the inclusion of a tensioning rack added to the actuator spring to automatically open and eject the spent shell after firing, dramatically increasing the rate of fire of this gun. This gun saw service until the late 1940s. It was fitted onto the strv 31 chassis. This gun proved very effective as an anti-tank gun mounted on this chassis and was noted to be reasonably effective against fortifications. The chassis proved to be modern and up-to-date. However, the Swedish military decided to wait for more modern designs and to stay ahead of the curve, seemingly taking advantage of their neutrality and their lack of immediate need for a fighting vehicle for an ongoing conflict, leading to this vehicle only having a very short service life in Swedish military ultimately, with only 3 units being produced. That was my video. I hope you guys liked it. Subscribe, do all that cool stuff. You don't have to, I guess. Yeah, have a good day.